Okay, just thought I'd do a little video to help people out. These are Radion G5s. They've been on my system for about 12 months. Sorry, without cleaning for about 12 months. This here is the original version. You can see the screws are countersunk, and you see these black. So these are like the very first version of the G5s. They did update them. You can see this is a later version of a G5. The screws actually sit a little bit high. This is one I just cleaned. Alright, and stripped out and cleaned. I'm just going to run through this here. So you should do this probably, I would say, every 12 months, depending on how dusty things are at your house. Now, first thing you do is, if you've got slides, remove the slides. You don't need a drill, you can just use a screwdriver. I've got 8 lights to do, so I'm going to use a drill. Alright, sometimes these little things will pop up with it. Don't stress if it does. Usually you could just hold it and undo the screw and it will pop off. Now, to undo these lugs, you need a Torx. If you do these, never do this, the screws up very tight. It doesn't need to be tight. It's only a light. You know, it's not a structural thing. You nip them up. But when you do stuff up really tight and you've got salt in the air, what happens is they just locks up. It gets a bit of salt underneath it and it'll lock up. So this light here, I've had it since Radions came out, the G5s anyway. It's been a workhorse. I've had no dramas with this one, I don't think. I have had a problem with one Radion. I was able to send it to Aqua Blue, and there was a faulty board, and that one was still under warranty. I was very lucky. So I've removed the 4, and now I'm just going to ease this up. And you can see there. So I just pull the buttons out. I'm just going to put that aside. We'll clean that in a minute. Okay, so we've got the fan and you've got the heat sink. Now there's a lot of dust in under here, so I actually I remove the fan. Well, I don't remove it, but I just take it off so I can get in there. I use a toothbrush, and I also use a larger brush. These 2 screws out, and then the fan will pop up. Okay. Alright. So if you're just going to clean the dust out, this is all you need to do. If your lights are fairly new, that's all you really need to do, is just pull this face off, get a toothbrush in there, you know. All that dust, probably do it outside, otherwise your missus will shoot you. I'm lucky I'm in the garage, so this is my little area, so she's not going to come in and flip out about dust being all over the place. So I brush it off as much as I can. I'm just going to pause to grab my other brush and I'll be right back. Okay, this is the other brush that I use. I think you can get these from Woolies or Bunnings or something. The bristles just get down there, so get in there, knock that dust out. Alright. So what I do first is I knock all the surface off. I'm going to do the same here. Just give it a brush. Dry brush is usually better. Okay. So What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use some alcohol, and this stuff will evaporate dry. So it just lets you get in there. I spray the fan. You can get this stuff in a pressurized can as well. It actually works a bit better. I've got 8 lights to do, so it gets a bit expensive if I'm doing it for all of them. But I've found this stuff works just as well. The reason you want to brush the main stuff off first, because once it's wet it sort of goes like concrete. So you want to get as much off as possible. And then I'm going to do the same in here. Spray it all down inside the fins. Alright, give it a good scrub. Good scrub. Just helps get that dust out of the fins. It does actually make a big difference. I've had one light before, it was starting to play up. It's been a while since I cleaned it. I pulled it out, I've done this, cleaned it all up, and I actually replaced the heatsink compound, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But I just thought I'd do this first part, which is just pretty much the dust cleaning. So I'm going to get in here, give it a good wipe out. You can see that alcohol's already drying. It just evaporates out. Do it in a well ventilated area, not like me with the garage door closed. Okay, so I'm going to rotate the fan back around, 2 screws. Okay, now I wouldn't advise using a drill to do this because these should not be tight, right? Only need them like loose, not loose, but just nipped up. If you do them too tight, you're going to crack the plastic, you're going to crack the fan, especially on this next side, which once I flip over. Alright, if you do these too tight, you can see here, this was a fault with the Radions. They all crack the housings. Radion actually sent out kits. I do have a kit for this one. Maybe it's actually been changed because I can see the sticker is peeled up a bit. It may have been changed, maybe I didn't change it. This is, I don't know, when they came out, so I've had it since the lights were actually brought out. Okay. They did change the screws, as I showed you before. So this part here, you don't have to do. I'm doing this because I want to actually change the heatsink compound on this light. Okay. Try not to lose any screws. Okay. Alright. So the power cord just has, push it down and just be gentle. If you break anything, you're not going to have a light. Alright. This one hasn't been apart in a long time, probably ever. Usually they come apart a lot easier than this. There we go. It should pop out now. There we go. So don't force it, just work your way away at it. You don't want to break stuff. Alright, so the lens. Just pop that off. Alright, I'm going to give that a good scrub in a minute. And now for the LED board. So I can see here, you might not be able to see it, but when I look at it, I can see little hot spots around some of these LEDs. So this has been used for 4 years or whatever it is. I'm going to change the heatsink compound underneath. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this ribbon cable. So this cable here is for the buttons. Be very careful. If you break this, your light won't work because it's actually got a thermostat in the buttons. Alright, so I've just undone that. I'm going to put my fingers under here. I'm just going to lightly lift. And you can see here these dots. So what these dots are is it is heatsink compound, and some of them don't look all that great. Now if you wipe it off, you don't know where the LEDs are. These are actually directly underneath the LEDs. So, you know, usually you should wipe it all off and put all fresh stuff on. You could wipe it off one side, but I wouldn't wipe it off both sides. And the reason is then you won't know where to dab the heatsink compound. Alright. Now with this, what happens when it's been sitting for a while, it can get a little bit of watery. So I always just pull a little bit out and just wipe it. Alright, so a little is a lot, that's way too much. Alright, you just need to just drip it. It's not a big deal if you put too much, but what happens is it'll come through the screw holes, and it will, if you put way too much, it'll cover the LEDs, and that's a problem. Alright, we don't want to cover the LEDs. I should make up a template for this, and then I'll be able to clean when I get some time. I probably will make up a little template on the printer, and then I can clean it off properly. But I've been doing this for a while, and I haven't had any dramas with the lights with it after that. So I've dabbed it everywhere on one side. That's all you need. You don't need to dab the other side. So the other side I will be able to clean. Just need a little bit of paper towel and a bit of alcohol. And I'm going to be gentle when I hold this because this is the LED board, and I'm just going to give it a good wipe with the alcohol. Alright, give it a little spritzing. Another bit of paper towel. Okay, so I've just cleaned it off the one side. Alright, so I'm going to put this back on now. Now you need to be really careful when you do this. Just pull the ribbon cable back slightly. And what you want to do is the pins on here and here will line up with these two black things. Now if you're not confident pulling stuff apart and that, don't do it. Maybe you've got a mate. So I haven't put any pressure on. I can see the pins that are coming through the black part. So I'm just going to pull this out so it doesn't get any stuff on it. And then I'll just tap it down. I can see all the pins in there. If you bend a pin, it's fine. Just don't force anything because you can straighten it up again. But if you bend it too much, right, then what happens is it may snap. Alright, so I'm just pushing this down so that heatsink compound is in there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go and give this and the other case a scrub. Alright, I'm going to do it under the sink with my scrubbing brush. It just brings them up nice and clean. You could do it just with paper towel and wiping it, but I'm going to give it an actual scrub. So it's good for 12 months. I'm going to pause the video and then I'll be back. Okay, so I'm just going to wipe this one. Could use a little bit of alcohol, just be careful, it may discolour the plastic. You could just use a bit of damp paper towel. Alright. Okay. So, to put it back together, first thing I do is I have here, which is the strap for the buttons. Little ribbon cable. I'm going to poke that back in. And I'm going to push the 2 tabs in. Alright. Now, I've got my lens. I've given it a good clean. Make sure it's totally dry. You don't want any water sitting on the circuit board. I'm going to sit that on top. Got my screws. I wouldn't advise using a drill to tighten these. You do them too tight and it's going to crack the lens. It'll crack the sides of the shroud that goes around it. So, you know, hand tool will work better. Alright, I'm going to leave them a little bit loose. I'll just put 2 in just so it doesn't fall off. Okay, so there's still movement there. So I've got my shroud and we need to plug the power back in. This usually sits as a loop. Okay. Put the power cord around. Just plugs in. Push it in. And then this will go underneath that circuit board, or to the edge of it at least. And there we go. Alright, so I'll put these in, and I did drop one before. Okay. Alright. These do not need to be tight. It's not structural, it doesn't need to be tight. Just nip them up just to hold it together. I've been doing it like this for a long time and I've never had a drama with a light falling apart. Just make sure it's sitting, the lens should sit right to the top. If it's not, just wiggle it around. That's why I left the lens loose. I didn't fully tighten it up, otherwise you can't get the outer shroud on. Okay. And then I'll go through and I'll just nip up the lens. Now if you put too much heatsink compound, it will come through the holes. It's fine, you can see my holes are going white. Just don't put heaps and heaps, you don't want it to come up onto the LEDs. But I've seen no issues with it spreading out. To me it's just going to transfer the heat across to the heatsink better, like a CPU. I'm just going through nipping these up. You shouldn't need to do the heatsink every year, maybe every 4 years should be alright, although if you're having problems with it, give it a try. I had a mate who had a light, I did that and it actually fixed it. The last one. Okay, So I'll flip it over. And we've just, so like I said before, be careful of this. I wouldn't spray any alcohol on it. I wouldn't try and remove it. There is actually a thermostat in here which measures the temperature of the heatsink. I'm pretty sure it's in here because when I had it unplugged, it was coming up with a temp error because I was playing around with another light. So I think there is a thermostat in here. Don't peel it off, leave it on, just clean around it. You can see the dust is much better. Now you can wipe your buttons down. There's two little nipples. Just work them around. I've cleaned this. This has been running for a long time. You know, the fan, the wire's got a little bit of a hole in it. I'm not stressed about it. The light is still functional. It works great. And they grow coral really well. Pop these back on. Like I said, everything just needs to be nipped up. Doesn't need to be screwed down really tight. If you do them super tight, you're going to have problems when you got to pull it apart again to clean it. Because in my opinion, the best way to clean the dust out of it is by doing this. The heat sink compound, you know, like I said, maybe every 3 years, 4 years, or if you're having problems, you can give it a go. Alright, that's it. Nice, clean Radion. All the dust is gone. Ready for another 12 months. Thank you. Hope it helps someone out.